a second, maybe we'll just a little bit, get out that mic way. Okay, perfect.
Packed house.
This is a
Which
new
one of
one
these
for
am I
you,
using?
playing, new deal for you. You don't usually play in these games. How do you motivate your guys? Because this is going to be a game tomorrow about which team's more motivated to continue to keep playing.
Ooh, I mean, I think we have something to play for. They were great yesterday. Not quite as good today, but they're enthusiastic. They're excited about playing.
I can't think of another conference in the country that's the first game is featuring two teams with nets in the 70s. I think they were 79
Well,
or 71.
It's more than that. I mean, we've played 17 quad one teams. 17. We've played the third hardest schedule in the country, and we've lost a bunch of games at the end of right at the end. But nobody else has played the schedule that we've played, which you would hope would bode well for us.
Talking to some of your guards here, they thought maybe they didn't do a good enough job taking advantage of the size advantage that they have against Kansas State with the smaller guards that they have. Is that something that you talked to them about a little bit?
We talked to them about it the two times we played them. They do a really good job, and Bert's a good coach, so they do a really good job of keeping some size around the basket. We got some guys they're not going to chase, so why not stand them in front of the rim, protect those little guys? They do a good job. I mean, you don't trick a whole lot of people in this league.
I feel like you're getting a little bit more from Paulie around the basket. Maybe this is the best it's been for you this year in terms of at least having a little bit of a threat near the goal.
Well, it seemed like early on that we probably missed 20 one-footers a game, and I think Paulie's the one guy who, kind of took it to heart and worked on it every day. He's the guy we've been throwing the ball to. He's the guy we've been throwing the ball to when we needed something close. He's been our most consistent scorer from 2 feet and in.
Encouraged with the way you played down the stretch against TCU, held them to one field goal to over, what was it, 627, and defensively, I know that's something you've been, frustrated with a little bit.
Well, it is, but you look back on it. We're what, a quarter of an inch away from beating Texas. I mean, the ball's just got to go another quarter of an inch, and so you beat Texas, which is really a good solid win. The Iowa State deal, all we got to do is get the ball in bounds, and for whatever reason they decide not to pay attention during that timeout.
You had these guys down 10 with 16 to go out there when they were holding on to it.
Yeah, we missed some shots. I mean, we had shots. We missed some shots, and they play well at home. It's kind of like coming to Morgantown. It's tough to win in Morgantown.
Coach, how has Malik Curry come along here down the stretch, and how valuable have those improvements been from him?
He's been terrific. He's a guy who can make things happen, and he's when our offense kind of struggles, he's the guy we go to. I think early on we struggled, and then I watch him, and what we tried to do was get other people out of the way so that he could do his thing, and for a good while we were pretty successful at getting everybody else out. When you run Taz and Sean out of there, they got to go with them because they're so capable of making shots, which gave him a lot more room. I mean, it's the same thing the Texas game. I mean, he got a great shot. He got a great shot inside 15 feet, and it just came up a little bit short.
Seeing the improvement that he's had over the year, that Paulie's had over the years, several of your transfers, do you ever at some point go, wow, if I'd had them 2-3 years, where could they have been? Where could they have gotten to? And do you try to use that in the future with guys and say, look, stick it out. Look what these guys did in 1 year. Imagine what they'd have done in 3 or 4.
Well, don't you think that every year? I mean, whether it's guys that come out of the portal or guys that transfer in, don't you think that every year? I mean, you lose a guy who had a heck of a year, and you say, just think what it would have been if he had one more year. I think that happens every year. But his progress has been, I think, way ahead of some of the other guys.
I'm trying to think, you haven't had anybody here on your team that's played when this was back at full capacity, right? I don't think. So this is a first for the guys, because you had the year you went home from COVID, and last year was bubble.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah. So it's going to be a different deal for your guys.
We've had guys here for media day
Yeah.
that I remember, but I don't even hardly remember playing here.
Is this a good gym? Is this a shooter's gym in your opinion?
I think we've played, for the most part, pretty well here.
Yeah.
I mean, even the year when, we had to get rid of all those guys and we played all those freshmen. I mean, when you beat Texas Tech here, who goes to the national championship game with a bunch of young guys, and I don't think it affected them any. It may have affected them more in a positive way than anything else.
Do you like this arena?
It's kind of like the old boy said, it's 10 feet. It's
Hoosiers?
yeah, the rim hadn't gotten any smaller, hadn't gotten any bigger either.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, yeah. Unless you were like my grandfather, you put the rim on upside down. And I said, Pappy, the rim's supposed to be the other way around. I was just little. He said, I thought maybe this would make it easier to go in.
Birch tree, pine tree,
No,
sycamore tree,
on the side of the garage.
side of the garage.
Side of the garage with you couldn't shoot on the upper part of it because if it would make or miss, it was going in the creek.
There you go.
So you had to shoot from the bottom side the good thing was it rebounded for you.
Yeah.
Then he went out and put it in this field. There was a hill, and then there was this flat spot, so he put it on the hill. And I'm like, well, Pappy, we can't play a game here. And he said, well, this is for shooting. And I said, well, I mean, what am I supposed to do? He said, well, ball's going to roll back to you. I think my grandfather was the innovator of the toss back.
There you go.
Yeah.